Oh, yes, and welcome to the Irish Abroad show for this Thursday. We're back after our international break ourselves, myself, Ger Brown, and Paul Tierney. Of course, I've got the St. Pat's colours on, of course, ahead of Sunday's big game in the Aviva Stadium. But before we get to that, there's an issue I want to address here first, Paul, because in our last show 2 weeks ago, you were giving it the big one, the big talk. Oh, we're coming free on the 20th of November.
Mhm.
5 days on. What are your thoughts now after Liverpool gave their annual pasting to Arsenal at Anfield?
Mikel Arteta was very stupid to get riled up about a free kick that we won. We made it too easy for you. Um, Brighton got a point off you and should have beat you a couple of weeks before. I don't know
What's that
why
got to do with
Arsenal
anything?
can't do it. I'm saying Arsenal need a plan B. It was too easy for you.
Yeah, I think even like going back to the Arteta situation, definitely seemed to kind of rally up Liverpool. You can really say like Arteta assisted all four Liverpool goals because that's what got Liverpool going. Because Arsenal were doing quite
Mhm.
well for 30 minutes. But I just like you said, like for a free kick you won, and let's be brutally honest, it wasn't one of the worst challenges in the world we've seen. It
No.
wasn't even near the red card category. So I don't know why he got so wound up on it. And just like to kind of finish up on it, because we don't want to spend too much talking about it, but just like I couldn't understand Ian Wright afterwards on match today saying, "Oh, I'm not too worried about this because like, it's Liverpool." But like, yeah, Arsenal were on a good run of form before this, and like signs of so-called improvement under Arteta. But how would you really test if you're really improving if you're getting once again battered by the teams who want to be back up there challenge with like Chelsea went there, I bet you comfortably 2-0 at the start of the season, 5-0 pacing against Man City, and now Liverpool. Like it's all well and good beating these kind of small teams, which Arsenal should be doing, but like for me, there's still no real progress until Arsenal start at least getting competitive in these games.
Yeah, definitely, I agree. I think you can say that about a lot of teams in the Premier League. You look at the weekend, Liverpool, Chelsea, and City all won handy in three games that looked fairly tough.
Yeah,
So I mean, that's the problem there. It's not just Arsenal, but I think looking at Arsenal, they don't have a plan B against you. Don't try and play football against Liverpool at Anfield. You got to make it tough for them. Take a 1-0, 2-0, 2-1 defeat if you have to. Don't get hammered. And yeah, unfortunately, that was the result. I gave it the big one and it hit me back in the face. So that's it. But look, we move on to Newcastle on Saturday.
exactly. And sure, look, I gave it the big one the week before that, and we got bet by 3-2 by West Ham the following Sunday. So I'm saying absolutely nothing ahead of this Saturday's game against Southampton. So we're on the Premier League. While we're talking about the Premier League, we might as well stick with it. If you want to run through and start us off with the Irish involvement from the weekend gone by.
Yeah, and as usual, very little, but we still go through it anyway. I just went in order with these. Shane Duffy played the full 90 minutes in Brighton's 2-0 defeat at Aston Villa. Disappointing result for Brighton, who've been so good so far this season, but a good start for Steven Gerrard in his first Premier League job. Uh, Kieran Clark played the full 90 minutes in Newcastle's 3-all draw at Brentford. Now, I went online and I got a couple of player ratings, and I think it was the Chronicle Live gave him 6 out of 10.
Yeah,
I don't know how a defender gets 6 out of 10 if they concede three goals. I'm not being mean, but honestly, it's fact, isn't it? Like,
yeah,
it's fact. They said he battled hard, but didn't always look comfy with the new formation. Understandable, new manager, probably not the best ball player. And Eddie Howe's
yeah.
obviously going to be trying to play ball, so it's going to be tough for him there. But yeah, 3-all, it was an entertaining game. Newcastle probably should have won it at the end, but it shows their problems lie at the back. I mean, if Jamel Lascelles is your captain, you have a problem already, to be honest. Very harsh. Someone said that to me yesterday, and I was like, that's actually very true. Um, the only other bit I have from the weekend, Seamus Cullen played the full 90 minutes in Everton's 3-0 defeat at Man City. Obviously, City were fantastic on Sunday. I don't know if you saw it yourself, but some great goals and they were really, really good. He only got 5 out of 10 by goodisonnews.com. He said he was penned in for the whole game, but managed to do what was thrown down his side. I thought Foden gave him an awful time when he was on,
Yeah.
really, to be honest. But he did go off just after half time, probably with an injury or something. But he managed to do what was thrown down his side, as I said. Uh, yeah, that's all I've got. I only briefly mentioned that Adam Ida and Andrew Mbamidele didn't get any time on Saturday. I know Mbamidele is only coming back from injury, but under a new manager, it might be the same old, same old.
Yeah, it is actually worth mentioning from that game at the weekend between Norwich and Southampton. Shane Long actually came on
Oh,
towards
did
the
he?
end of that match, but unfortunately, the Norwich defence were not terrified as he didn't make any impact as Norwich managed to stay on and win that game 2-1. Yeah, I wouldn't be overly despondent about Omar Bamdeli's no game time the weekend. As I touched on, he didn't feature for Ireland in the last international window because of injury. And look, busy period coming up now. You've got midweek games next week. You've got midweek games, I think the week commencing the 13th of December. And then you've got that crazy Christmas, New Year fixture list where you play 3 games in 7 or 8 days. So there'll be plenty of opportunities there. Fingers crossed. Yeah, just even on some of the other Irish players' ratings, same as well for Seamus Coleman in the Liverpool Echo. They also gave him a 5 out of 10, saying that he kind of struggled with the multiple threats that Man City were able to pose. I watched this game on Sunday. Everton were absolutely abysmal, to be brutally honest.
Mhm.
Because look back, they were very, very good, but I expected a little bit more from Everton in this game, to be brutally honest. But they've really fallen off a cliff since the last October international break. Like, it's unfair to throw the Manchester United result into this category because it was such a good result to go to Old Trafford and get a point. Now, maybe it wasn't, given United struggles, but it is now 6 games without a win for them. And you touched on there, Brighton. I think they're kind of getting sucked into a little bit of false sense of security now. Like, a good start to the season. Yeah, they're in a healthy position at the table, but it's now 7 games without a win for them. And they kind of clapped a little bit late on that game against Aston Villa, conceding a couple of late goals, but I suppose Villa probably were full value for that 3 points. Just the only other one as well on the Kieran Clark one. I know you're kind of saying it's strange to give a defender 6 out of 10 when his team does concede 3 goals, and I agree with you. But just kind of feel with some of the nature of the Brentford goals, like you look at the first one, Ivan
Mhm.
Darlow should be saving that all day long. Brentford's third goal does take a bit of a deflection as well. It's not like as if it was a case of they were constantly ripped apart for the goals. Now maybe they were overall in the general run of play because it was a bit like the Burnley Crystal Palace game. It was a bonkers game, and also how then games were not top of the running order match today after the Man United Watford game. Like, just typical big club bias.
Yeah, ridiculous. I mean, Chelsea's 3-0 win at Leicester and your win against us as well. Like, there was nothing in the game really.
Yeah.
Like, you were strolling. I watched both of them, like, strolling. There's no point in having them up there. But again, look, as you said, big club bias, or half big club bias, because only half the teams are big clubs at the minute.
Yeah, it is a fair enough point there. I suppose we've kind of wrapped it all up there, really, all that there is to say for Premier League. Just maybe, might as well just say on Shane Duffy, individual player rating, Sussex Live gave him a 6 out of 10, and the Argos gave him a 7 out of 10. So overall, he didn't seem to come in from much criticism for Brighton's defeat at the weekend. Not
Yeah,
sure
I
who
think I think if
they're
you
playing
look at
Leeds
that, I
actually on.
mean, yeah, they're
Is there
playing
just
Leeds on Saturday night. Yeah,
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 big
yeah, yeah.
game there.
I think with Villa as well, like Villa got the goals late, so obviously it was a good performance from Brighton defensively up to that, and they were 2 nice goals as well. To be fair, from what I seen, Watkins took his goal very well, and Mings buried it. I mean, it's a rebound, but it's coming at him really fast, and he just buried it in the top corner. So there's not much you can do from that, really.
And yeah, and given as well it's a central defender, it makes it probably all the more impressive as well. We'll
Yeah.
run down into the championship because, as always is the case with the championship, when there's Champions League action, there's also midweek championship action. So we've got
Woo.
loads to get through here. We're going to run through the weekend, and if you want to bring us up to date on what's happened over the last 48 hours, then afterwards.
Yeah, of course, no problem. Do you want to work
Grant.
away, or will I go
Yeah,
first?
so I'll start first. So the Friday night game, seeing QPR beat Luton Town 2-0 at home, and Jimmy Dunn got an assist in this game, and you got a 6 out of 10 rating from West London Sports, saying centre back improved after a shaky start and got up well to head Chris Wallach's cross back into the 6-yard box for Charlie Adams, Charlie Austin, still doing the business to score Rangers' second goal. Johnny Egan, Enda Stevens and Conor Hurahan all started, while Dave McGoldrick came on at half-time as Sheffield United drew 0-0 home to Coventry City on the lunchtime game last Saturday. Just the player ratings from this one. So the Yorkshire Post gave Egan a 7 out of 10 rating, along with Stevens, saying he actually went off to a standing ovation in this match. Conor Hurahan got a 5 out of 10 rating, saying he misplaced a number of passes to his and the fans' frustration. And Dave McGoldrick got a 6 out of 10 rating for his contribution. The star wasn't as generous to any of the Irish contingent. Egan got a 5 out of 10 rating. Stevens got a 4.5 out of 10 rating. I just find it very bizarre that one publication is going from giving him a 7 out of 10 and a standing ovation, where a 4.5 rating, another one saying some decent moments, not so great. So you wonder, what's really going on there. Conor Hurahan got a 4 out of 10 rating, and Dave McGoldrick got a 5 out of 10 rating. Ryan Manning played the full 90 minutes while Michael Obafemi came off the last 19 minutes as Swansea drew 1-1 at home against Blackpool. Manning got a 7 out of 10 rating Wales Online, saying he deserves a reasonable mark for his header off the line late on. Also made more tackles than any other player, a reasonable outing. Obafemi got a 6 out of 10 rating for his contribution, saying some decent touches, but not a lot to get excited about on his return. It was the Irish goal touch all round at Deepdale as Sean Maguire scored for Preston and Mark McGuinness and James Collins both scored for Cardiff as the former bet the latter 2-1 away from home. Greg Cunningham, who picked up a yellow card, and Alan Brown was captain for Preston, also played in this contest. Just player ratings from this one as well. Alan Brown got a 7 out of 10 rating. Greg Cunningham got a 6 out of 10 rating, and Sean Maguire got a 7 out of 10 rating. I think that was from Lancs Live. And then from the Cardiff point of view on Wales Online, Mark McGuinness got a 7 out of 10 rating and James Collins got a 9 out of 10 rating. He actually got the Star Man of the Match award for the player rating there. First goal of the season as well, and I think it was the first league goal as well for Sean Maguire and even Mark McGuinness, so good to see them all get off the mark. Jack Taylor and Sammy Smaddox were part of the Peterborough side that are now on at the time on a 4-game unbeaten run. 4-game winless run, I should say. That's actually now been stretched to 5 games after they lost 2-0 away to Stoke on Saturday. Peterborough today gave Taylor a 7 out of 10 rating and Smaddox a 6.5 rating. Sean McLaughlin for Hull City and Scott Hogan for Birmingham City and picked up a yellow card. Played the full 90 minutes as the Tigers bet the Brums 2-0 and the whole Daily Mail gave McLaughlin a 7 out of 10 rating, saying solid performance and played his part in a defensive unit that kept the likes of Deeney and Hogan at bay. Birmingham Live gave Hogan a 6 out of 10 rating. Jason Malumbi played the final 15 minutes in West Brom's 1-0 defeat to Huddersfield Town on Saturday. They've gone into a little bit of free fall lately, West Brom, and their midweek result wasn't a whole lot to shout about either. Callum O'Dowda scored his first goal of the season as Bristol City drew 1-1 at home against Blackburn. The Bristol Post gave O'Dowda a 7 out of 10 rating, saying outstanding in the first half in his role, flipping between the left back and left wing, which meant Blackburn didn't have a clue how to mark him. His goal was a rich reward for his endeavour, but like a number of others, as Rovers switched tactics after break, the Republic of Ireland international became less effective, forced to consistently track back and cover. And Darragh Lenihan played the entire game for Blackburn Rovers in this contest, and he got a 7 out of 10 rating from Lancs Live. And then finally, the Sunday game that was live on Sky Sports, seeing, of course, Derby beat Bournemouth 3-2. And, of course, Jason Knight scored in this game, and Festi Ebsede was also part of the Derby team that caused a surprise. Of course, they now deducted 21 points. So this win brought them back on to 0 points, leaving them 15 points adrift of relegation zone. Still a massive, massive task ahead of Wayne Rooney's side. The Derby Telegraph gave Knight an 8 out of 10 rating, saying bags of energy, running and determination, and headed the Rams in front, while Ebazeli got a 7 out of 10 rating, saying showing power and desire throughout. On the losing side for Bournemouth, Mark Travers played the full 90 minutes and Gavin Kilkenny came off the last 29 minutes. And of course, if anyone was watching the game, he did see he had half a chance at the end to possibly draw the game. Dorset Live gave both players a 6 out of 10 rating. And that is your roundup from the weekend of the championship. And now Paul Tierney will bring us the midweek reports.
Midweek. And anyway, we'll start off with Tuesday anyway. And start off with West Brom again. As you mentioned, another poor result for them. Drew 0-0 with Blackpool during the week. Jason Malumbi and Callum Robinson both play. Jason Malumbi played the full 90 and Callum Robinson was on as a sub. 0-0 draw, another disappointing result for West Brom, who are falling further and further behind the top two. Scott Hogan played for Birmingham. They drew 0-0 with Coventry City in Midlands Derby. Probably a disappointing result for both sides there, really, who've been playing decent enough of late, and Coventry gone for the playoffs as well. Sean Maguire and Alan Brown helped Preston beat Middlesbrough at the Riverside. Good performance there and a good win for Preston after being beaten by Cardiff on the weekend. And David McGoldrick got an assist for Jade Bogle's goal as Sheffield United won 1-0 away at Reading. Enda Stevens, John Egan and Conor Hurhan were all involved for the Blades as well. So a good win for Sheffield United there to finish off Tuesday night. And on Wednesday, I have it down here. Wednesday night, we started off with Barnsley and Swansea. Ryan Manning was on the sub, and he set up the first goal for Swansea in their 2-0 win at Barnsley, who just got a new manager as well. Bad start for them. Darragh Lenihan got the third goal of 4 for Blackburn as they battered Peterborough. Sammy Schmodix, Jack Taylor, and Connor Coventry all played for the away side. I think they brought Connor Coventry on in the second half when it was 4-0. I always think that's a real insult for a player, to be honest.
I
Callum
suppose you're
O'Dowd.
going to make subs anyway, like, so.
Yeah, true. Yeah, you have to do something, I suppose. Yeah. Callum O'Dowd helped Bristol City beat Stoke 1-0 at Ashton Gate. He also picked up a yellow card in that one, keeping up his starting performances anyway. Not saying the yellow card is a good thing, but look, he's back in and he's playing regularly. Sean McLaughlin was at the heart of Hull City's defence as his side kept another clean sheet and beat Cardiff 1-0 at it's still the KC Stadium, isn't it? Probably.
Oh, God, I know what that stadium's called now.
Yeah. Mark McGuinness and James Collins were involved. Oh no, it wasn't at the KC, it was at Cardiff City Stadium. Mark McGuinness and James Collins were involved for the home side. Disappointing result for them after getting a good win on Saturday. Jason Knight and Festi Abasele helped Derby keep a clean sheet at free scoring Fulham, which is I don't know if you've seen Mitrovic's goal. It was literally a centimetre from going in. But goal line technology obviously worked well, and it wasn't a goal. Another good result for Derby, who've taken on the top two in the last couple of days and have got 4 points from 6. Even though it still looks like they're doomed, great to get back in positive.
I wouldn't write them off. I genuinely
they're very good. They're very good side, to be fair. Watch them on Sunday, and they're two great results. Like there's some good players there. Like
they'd be holding their own. Like they'd be on 22 points. Like they're, as you said, like they're a good side. Like in normal circumstances, they look like a team that are heading for a comfortable mid-table finish this season, not really threatening the playoffs. Like, so I think they can pull themselves out of it. Obviously, January is going to be a killer for them because obviously with the situation with finances, they are probably going to have to look to sell a couple of players. Like we could be talking about Jason Knight the last couple of weeks as Derby County player. That's obviously understandable. But if, you know, likes of Festi Abasele, these type of young players, Watson, who's also there as well from an Irish point of view, if they can kind of really step up and maybe they can get a couple of players in on a free, you know, you give them a chance. And like I said, there's plenty of experience there with Curtis Davis and Phil Jagielka at the back as well.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, they play good stuff as well. Rooney has them playing very well. So you never know. We move on to Bournemouth and Millwall. It was a 1-1 draw. Gavin Kilkenny and Mark Travers were involved for Bournemouth. And Dan McNamara played for Millwall in that one. Probably another disappointing result for Bournemouth. And another clean sheet for Jimmy Dunn as QPR beat Huddersfield 1-0. QPR are flying at the minute. They're well into the playoff spots now as well. So fair play to them on that. And Jimmy is getting a load of starts the last few weeks as well, which is good to see.
Yeah, he's having a fantastic season, you know, considering obviously it was a good move, I think, to move from Burnley to take the step down to get regular first team football. By this time, took him a while to break into that team, but he's really made his start and, you know, he seems to be very much trusted there. Is Mark Warburton still their manager, is it?
I think he is, he is.
Just even kind of other things I think that stand out. Obviously, West Brom's free fall in form. And again, it's, you know, just talk about chalk and cheese, a contrast. Again, like you look at Callum Robinson international break, pretty impressive for Ireland, got that goal against Luxembourg. Just struggling for West Brom. It's bizarre. Like maybe it's just one of them and maybe it's a good thing. It's just he's going to be just one of them players that just when it comes to Ireland, he's just going to turn it on and be a good international player. I think if that is the case, we'd take that hands down, no problem. But Hull, very, very impressive for them. You know, they were not that long ago, we were talking about them really struggling to show. That's a hat-trick of victories for them. As you mentioned, against a Cardiff team that looked like they're a bit rejuvenated since Mick's departure as manager. And Sean McLaughlin, another man, it looks like now he's starting to force his way into the team. I think that's 2 starts in a row for him, if not more. Obviously, I think anyone, Cork City fans, anyone in general who followed the League of Ireland would have known from his time what a really, really good player he was. He, at the time, it seems obviously a norm now for League of Ireland players to be involved in Ireland under 21 squads. But back then, he kind of nearly started the trend, even starting in the team and everything else like that. The same under 21 team, of course, featured Josh Cullen and Ryan Manning and that. And yeah, even Bournemouth, a couple of disappointing results as well for them over the last kind of couple of weeks. They've kind of drifted off a little bit as well. And finally, as well, just credit to Blackburn because it's only 3 weeks ago we were talking about them being stuffed 7-0 at home against Fulham. That's a type of result that can psychologically damage you for a long, long time. They've picked up 7 points now from the last 3 games since then. They've actually scored 7 goals in that time as well. And they get Peterborough right good battering who are now seem to be on a little bit of a slide themselves at the moment. And good praise as well for Darragh Lennon from that game. As you mentioned, he got the 3rd goal and he got an 8 out of 10 rating as well from the Lancs Live publication as well.
That's great going. And Blackburn well on course with the playoffs as well as QPR. And it's good to see 2 clubs, 2 Premier League clubs in recent years. I mean, Blackburn have won the Premier League, so good to see them back going and good to see Irish player involved in it as well. But I think it's all down
Captain as well,
to
yeah.
yeah. I think it's all down to Ben Brereton Diaz. He's actually turned into a real superstar. If you hear about him, like the Chileans love him as well. They think he's brilliant. And he was just Ben Brereton before that. Now with the Diaz at the end of it, it's like he's a superstar. He's got 16 goals this season in all competitions, which is
Maybe,
great
maybe we
going.
should
Like,
maybe we should start giving foreign twangs to some of our Irish players that might,
yeah, Josh Cullen Diaz. Why not?
yeah.
Like, or Josh Cullen Tielemans because he plays in Belgium.
We're kind of getting there bit by bit anyway.
Mm.
So we'll move on anyway. League One also seen a double game week over the past couple of weeks. So I'll give us the rundown on that, and anything I've missed out on, Paul, you can then let me know. So
Yep.
starting with the weekend, Aidan McGeady scored injury time penalty to complete Sunderland's 2-0 win against Ipswich. That's his third goal of the season. Sunderland badly needed the win. They'd really fallen off the wheels over the last kind of couple of weeks after a fantastic start to the season. I actually regret starting with this because I should have
Mhm.
started with this bit of information. Where's Houlihan? He's back
Mhm.
at it again. His fifth assist of the season in 11 games at 38 years of age. What a man. What a
Mhm.
man.
What a player.
But unfortunately, despite his assist, Cambridge were still beaten 3-1 away to Rotherham. Uh, I have information here that doesn't belong to League One, so I'll just skip that. Marcus Harness made it 2 goals in 2 games, and we'll touch on him later as well. In Portsmouth's 2-1 win at home to AFC Wimbledon. At the time, that was his 9th goal in 19 games in all competitions this season. And I think the last bit of news from League One from the weekend, and Anthony O'Connor, he got an assist in Morecambe's 2-1 win over Fleetwood, and that again at the time was his second goal involvement of the season. On to midweek, fishing as well with the pass top that's on me. Press over this side. Um, Luke McNally marked back-to-back starts for Oxford United by grabbing his first goal for the club in their 3-1 win over Fleetwood Town. We mentioned Anthony O'Connor there from the weekend, and he followed up his assist with his first goal of the season as Morecambe drew 2-2 at home to Charlton. And we also said we mentioned Marcus Harness later on because it's now 3 goals in 3 games for him as he was on the score sheet once again as Portsmouth completed a comprehensive 3-1 or 3-0 win even over Lincoln. Another team after a slow start they've really found form over the last kind of couple of weeks. And it's now the 7th clean sheet in all competitions, the 6th in the league this season for Gavin Bazunu. And that brings Harness up to 10 goals now in 20 games. So goal one in every 2 games is not to be sniffed at in League One. As we touched on it, there's players doing less in League One and getting a Ireland call up. So maybe Marcus could
He
certainly be
got
raised.
he got a goal in the FA Cup as well. So in all competitions, it's 4-4.
Yeah, there you go.
Mm.
So and Sean Long, of course, we touched on his cousin Shane earlier, didn't manage to find the goal touch, but he did at the weekend. He got his first goal of the season in Cambridge or Cheltenham, sorry, it's 2-0 win over Gillingham. And Owen Fitzpatrick, if you are listening, I'm sure you're delighted to hear that. A long time admirer of Sean Long from the growing up together in their days back in Clondalkin. And Will Keane is now up to 8 goals for the campaign as he scored in Wigan's 2-2 draw away to Cambridge. Unfortunately, no Wes Houlihan involvement from that game.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, Owen Doyle scored his 5th goal of the season as Bolton bet Doncaster 3-0 on Tuesday night. Anything else there to add from League One, Paul?
I know you've pretty much got everything. I've just got people starting and playing. That's it. There's no real significance of it. Yeah, that's it from League One. I can move on to League Two if you want. I
Super
only have
stuff.
a brief bit from the weekend, but I've got a bit more during the week. I've actually started watching the EFL on Quest like yourself, so it opens the mind a little
Good.
bit
If
more
you're
to
at that for Saturday night, it's good.
yeah, it's brilliant. Like I'm taking a breather from going out on Saturday night, so I'm actually gonna watch them from now on properly and get me information in my head rather than having to look it all up over the week. Give myself more work.
And if you do go
Um,
on the Saturday night, it's repeated at a very reasonable hour on a Sunday morning. I think
that's
it's like
good.
10:30 or something like that. Like so.
Brilliant, brilliant.
Yeah.
Unlike Match of the Day, which is on at 7 in the
Yeah,
morning.
yeah,
Not
you're definitely setting that one for record if you're out on a Saturday night, but
yeah,
sure.
yeah,
But the way things are going now with nights out and everything else like that, you'll nearly be home in time to catch the end of the match today anyway.
exactly. League Two anyway. I've only got one bit of information from the weekends. Rochdale, who've got a serious Irish contingent there at the minute. Corey O'Keefe, Owen O'Connell, Liam Kelly, and Jimmy Kieran helped Rochdale keep a clean sheet against Walsall. Obviously, League Two is very sparse. But then we move on into midweek. Anyway, I have a bit more Tuesday anyway because it was only games on Tuesday. Have a couple of bits of information. Porrigammon got a consolation goal for Exeter in their 3-1 defeat at Colchester. Exeter flying at the minute. It's probably a bit of a surprise result there. Jimmy Keohane got an assist for Rochdale in their 2-2 draw with Stevenage. Owen O'Connell, Corey O'Keefe and Liam Kelly, he got a yellow card in that as well. They also played for them. And Aaron Drinnan got a 6 goal in 5 games as Leighton Orient drew at lowly Scunthorpe. Flying. Leighton Orient, another team who are flying. I remember a few years ago they were in the playoff final in League One to get to the championship with Dave Mooney up front, and now they've just come out of the conference. It's mental what's happened there. And Scunthorpe as well. A few years ago they were in the championship. I mean, they're bottom of League Two now. It's crazy.
Yeah, they're a bit like the Peterborough of maybe 10 years ago. They were constantly up and down between the Championship and League One. And yeah, Leighton Orient have had a dramatic rise and fall the last kind of couple of years ago, because it's not that long ago. I think it was 2017 they actually exited the Football League when they were relegated down to the National League. Just two other bits of information as well I have from League Two from the weekend. Conor Wilkinson got an assist. He got a vital assist because it was the only goal in Warsaw's 1-0 win over Port Vale. And 15 minutes after being introduced, Pork Armand found the net, but it was only a consolation for Exeter as they went down 3-1 away to Colchester. That's his first league goal of the season. He has got a couple of goals in the EFL trophy, but that was a name we thought that we would be mentioning much earlier in the show instead of the month of November.
Yeah, I think he's been injured, to be honest. I do follow him on Instagram and Twitter as well. He did seem like he was in and out, but Exeter have been very good so far this season. They're in the top 3, and that's a surprise defeat. But again, it must be hard. Like, it's like when El Bazzetti went to Bolton last year. They were flying when he went, so he wasn't going to get in ahead of a starting 11 unless there's injuries, if they're doing so well. It's difficult. So, yeah, look, he's got a goal now anyway. Maybe that'll give him a chance in the next few weeks.
Yeah, fingers crossed. And just one last bit of news that I want to bring from England before we might move on to further field. It just comes from the National League, but a good felt story. I think everyone would have got a bit of a smile and a kick out from Tuesday night. Connor Jennings scored on his return to football in Stockport's 5-0 win over Kings Lynn on Tuesday night. Of course, this was his first appearance back playing after he was diagnosed with cancer. I can't remember what form of cancer was, but a tumour was located in his upper arm last March, and fantastic to see how he's managed to turn around so quickly in the space of 7 or 8 months, get himself back into fitness and back playing football. So it's a fantastic story for the 31-year-old, and something that everyone can relate to as well. And even though he has represented England before in the past, I think he played for their C team and possibly underage level, he still actually is eligible for Ireland now. I think that likelihood is possibly slim. I think, to be honest, just given the news that he was given not that long ago, he was delighted back playing. But a bit of a local connection as well, because his connections are actually only just over the road from me, the other side of the border in Roscommon into County Galway with Williamstown. And I actually went to school with his cousin the same year as me, Mihal Kenny, as well. So good to see a story like that as well, which is a bit of Irish and local connection as well. And I think, regardless of what his background is, it's just a fantastic story. And delighted for Conor, and best of luck, and hopefully he can kick on as well. He was actually part of the Tranmere team that won the League Two playoff final back in 2019 when they bet Newport, and that was the year Newport had that amazing FA Cup run. So fingers crossed, better days ahead for Conor.
Yeah, definitely. Fingers crossed. Just one more bit of information from the National League on Saturday as well. Paddy Madden, who also plays for Stockport, he got a double as they beat Woking 2-1 away. So Stockport could be a team to watch in the National League. A couple of Irish players involved. And Paddy Madden, a proven goal scorer at a high level as well in England. So, good stuff. And we'll keep an eye on Stockport anyway, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's not that long ago Paddy Madden was scoring goals in a pretty good rate in League One. So you think that's, he could run amok in that division, really, to be honest.
Oh, yeah, definitely. They were unlucky not to go up last year, I think, Stockport. I think they were beaten by... No, was it Stockport? I'm not sure. No, I'm thinking of Torquay. I think Stockport were beaten in the semi-finals of the playoffs or something. That league is mad.
It's a bit like the MLS. They drag out the playoff system
as well.
Quarterfinals as well.
Yeah, the playoff system's one straight knockout for two of the games, and then it's crazy. I don't know. We can move on into Scotland now. Maybe I'd say, to be honest. Again, there's always a bit of information from there. I can do Scotland. It's fine. There's only It's only a few bits, and then you can maybe do Europe because there's a couple of nice things in Europe anyway. So
There's a lot of interesting stuff in Europe, all right.
yeah, definitely. Anyway, I'll start off with Hibs and Jake Doyle Hayes. Hibs beat Rangers 3-1 in the Scottish League Cup semi-final on the weekend. A Martin Boyle hat-trick, obviously, but Jake Doyle Hayes played, and fantastic for him. And Rangers look like they're struggling already without Steven Gerrard, but look, it's only one game. We shall see what happens. We move into the SPL. A wonder goal from Jamie McGrath. If you haven't seen it, you can check it out on our page. An absolute brilliant goal with Jamie McGrath. It was cancelled out by Livingston. It was a 1-1 draw between them and St Mirren, and the usual suspects all played for St Mirren. We don't really need to go through them again. Connor Salmon scored for Alloa, but they were beaten by Owen Stokes' winner for, I think it was Dumbarton. I don't have it written down. Two Irish goals in that game there in Scottish League One. And Luke O'Connell got another goal, but Queen's Park were beaten by Peterhead. So that's all I have from Scotland. Do you have anything to add?
No, not really much major, just that Aaron McAniff was introduced the last 20 minutes as Hearts have now suffered 2 defeats in the last 3 games, this time going down 2-0 away to Motherwell. So their good start has just faded off a little bit in recent weeks. And Johnny Hayes came on at half-time in Aberdeen's 1-0 loss away to Dundee United. And we touched on their ecstasy and joy for Jake Doyle Hayes and Hibs on Sunday with that brilliant win in the League Cup semi-final against Hearts. But they've been firmly brought back down to earth because, as we touched on the last show before the international break, they had a couple of games called off because of COVID issues. One of them games was rearranged and played last night, and they lost 1-0 at home to Ross County. Doyle Hayes played the full 90 minutes in that one. But just going back to Sunday, he got good reviews for his performance in that one. Footballscotland.co.uk gave him a 7 out of 10 rating, saying performed at base alongside Newell in the middle of the park. They, of course, now play Celtic in the final on the last Sunday before Christmas, the 19th of December. And, of course, James McCarthy came on in the last 13 minutes of Celtic's 1-0 semi-final victory over St Johnstone.
Good stuff. That's what you want. Always a lot of involvement in Scotland as well. Very entertaining league. Do you want to move on to Europe then?
Because there's a nice bit to get through here from Europe, from all various different leagues. We'll start with the Bundesliga. It's a nice feeling to say that on the show because Conor Noss has made his debut for one of my favourite team names to pronounce. Borussia Mönchengladbach. Gets all the vowels, all the consonants, everything out in it. It's a great name to say. As they recorded a comprehensive 4-0 victory over Gruder Fürth, who are very much making up the numbers in the Bundesliga this season. I don't think they've even won a game yet. He came on the 89th minutes of this game. Mönchengladbach are 9th in the table on 18 points, so they're not really having the best of seasons there. Graham Carey was replaced at half-time in CSK Sofia's 2-1 victory over Arda, which sounds very much like it should be a town in the Midlands of Ireland, not somewhere in Bulgaria.
Or a Turkish footballer.
Yeah, possibly, actually, yeah. Who knows? There was a strong connection between Turkey football and County Offaly. But that result sees them remain second in the table, but they have now cut the gap on Ludogorets to 4 points after they were beaten at the weekend, and they have a game in hand on them. But that season started just a couple of weeks before the Premier League. I doubt there's a winter break coming there. I wouldn't say they get cold temperatures at this time of year in Bulgaria, so plenty of football still to be played. Josh Cullen played the full 90 minutes as Anderlecht once again drew at the weekend. That is just, you might as well just write that down because they seem to draw every game. It's their 7th draw out of 15 league meetings this season. This time they end up 1-1 with Cordrake at home. Despite the result, they have moved up one place in the table to 6th on 22 points. And then finally to Sweden, Zach Elbazetti played the full 90 minutes as AIK kept their slim title hopes alive with a 1-0 victory away to Forsberg. And we mentioned their slim title hopes are alive because both Djurgården and Malmo drew at the weekend. So while they remain third, they now only train leaders Malmo by 2 points with 2 games remaining. But here's the twist, here's the plot as well. They now travel to 4th place Elfsborg at the weekend, who only trailed them by a point and a place in the table. So they themselves still hover slight title aspirations themselves. But more importantly, AIK know a win here will obviously keep their title hopes alive going into the final day, regardless of how Julesburg and Malmo get on the weekend. But more importantly, it will guarantee European football for next season. That just shows you how tight it is. You know, they're still in there with a chance, but at the same time, they've got to take care of other matters first and make sure that they are in the UEFA Conference League next summer. It's going to be a fascinating conclusion to the Swedish League over the next 2 weekends.
Yeah, definitely. That's the way you want it. Really, you don't want teams running away with the leagues, and yeah, should be interesting. And that's mental that they're playing the team just behind them as well. They're going for the league. They're going for Europe as well.
Yeah,
It's so much money on the line, really. To be honest, if you think about it, madness,
yeah.
and
It's
yeah.
it's mad because I just know from working in the betting industry myself with BetTech and online betting exchange, just getting a bit of free branding out there that the Swedish league actually does be one of our highest, does regularly feature in our top 10 leagues that to be betting on during the week, mainly now for under and over markets. But you can see why, because it's just a mad nature and unpredictability of it. Like, how many leagues can say heading into the penultimate weekend of games that 4 teams are still in with a realistic chance to win the league?
Mm-hmm. Mental,
Because
mental.
even Jules Garden, we say we're on about Malmo trying to secure European football. Like, Jules Garden still need a result this weekend, even though they're top of the league. Or sorry, Malmo top of the league. They still need a result to be even just guarantee European football. Like, just
Mm-hmm.
shows how absolutely bonkers it is.
Yeah, crazy, but that's the way you want it. Keep it
Yeah,
interesting, like, you know. And great for Connor Noss as well, fantastic. And he's playing for a really big club over there in Mönchengladbach. Probably not as big as they were before, but you know, fantastic to see. And hopefully we get to talk about the Bundesliga again in a few weeks.
fingers crossed.
Yeah. Now we move on to the MLS. Unfortunate news. This will be the last time we talk about it for
Yeah,
this season. Very unfortunate. Only 2 bits of information for me anyway. You might have a bit more. Jake Mulroney was on as a sub for Atlanta United, but they were beaten by New York City, and their season is now over. Unfortunately, they are out. And Shane O'Neill played all 120 minutes for Seattle Sounders. They were beaten on penalties by Real Salt Lake, who did not have a shot on target for a shot at all for the whole game, which is mental. They played
yeah,
for it. They got what they wanted. That's it.
and they clearly practiced their penalties because they won at 6-5 as well, so they didn't miss a single spot kick either themselves. It's amazing. Like, we touched on it there not that long ago. Seattle Sounders have been in the playoffs for a long time, and they kind of seem to be in kind of cruise mode because the former dropped off. Real Salt Lake, as we touched on the last show, they only just snuck into the playoffs ahead of the expense of Derek Williams' LA Galaxy, and they've gone ahead and they've caused a bit of an upset early on in the playoffs. And it just goes to show, like, you need to be carrying form and momentum. Seattle Sounders, I think they've won 9 of their last 3 or 4 regular season games, and yeah, that defeat for Shane and the defeat as well for Jake Mulroney at Atlanta means we've no more reason to update you on the MLS unless you want us to. But unfortunately, that does end the Irish involvement for this season in the Major League Soccer.
Yeah.
Finally, then, just 2 other bits of news. The A League in Australia has kicked off slightly later than normal. It's usually an October start, but obviously because of the COVID situation in Australia. But it is good to see there are fans back of some description at games from the weekend as well. So obviously Australia are getting top of things again with the COVID situation. Just 2 Irish involvements from the opening weekend of the 2021-22 season. Jay O'Shea, of course, former League of Ireland player, I think mostly known for his time at Bray Wanderers. I think he was actually also part of the last ever Bury FC team as well, back
Mm.
in 2019. They actually, strangely enough, won promotion from League Two that season. He played the entire game for Brisbane City, but they suffered a 2-1 defeat away to Melbourne City. And former Republic of Ireland international, he's been lighting up the A-League for a number of years now, Andy Keogh. He played 54 minutes for Perth Glory as they shared the spoils 1-1 with Adelaide United.
Brilliant. Good to have another league now. Since the MLS is gone, now we can add
What's
the
your views on the A League? They've expanded this year; it's out to 12 teams, and you also have 2 teams now in it from New Zealand.
I mean, 12 teams is better than 27. You know, I mean, that's the only way to look at it. And they have a cup competition over there as well, which is, again, a bit more than the MLS have as well. I think, do they? I don't know if America, but
Not 100%
I don't
sure.
know.
It's mad to think for a country for Australia. So I know football falls way down the pecking order when you consider both forms of rugby, union and league, cricket, and obviously the AFL as well. But do you think that there will be maybe more teams, in the A League?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I always think the international team do quite well. And even when they get to World Cups, they always put it up to teams. You know, they're not like if I was say thinking of Ireland, I would not want Australia in our group as well, like because they'd be in and around the same as us. You'd want one of the lesser teams that might qualify from North America or something like, you know. They always put it up to teams. You think of 2006 as well. Italy were down to 10 men in the last 16, and Australia just didn't go for it. They could have beaten them, and then Italy probably wouldn't have won the World Cup. But
Yeah, even
yeah,
think of the last World Cup they drew with Denmark. They actually went into the last game with still a chance of qualifying before Peru bet them, but they were getting very, very close to drawing with France. Remember the opening game? It wasn't to that late Pogba goal. Like as you said, they always do give a good credit themselves to the World Cup. Even 2014, they ran the Dutch close as well. Like so,
Mm-hmm.
they do get there. In fairness, to them, even though they are possibly in a slightly easier format of qualifying than Asia, but we won't get into that
Mm-hmm.
anyway.
No, we
But
won't.
that's pretty much it, Paul. Just before we might wrap it up, as I touched on, I have my St. Pat's top on. Obviously, a massive weekend for League of Ireland football. We got the showpiece event of the year, the FAI Cup final on Sunday between Pats and Bows. Ticket sales going down an absolute treat. I think 35,000 sold already. It'd be great now if we can even push it up to 40,000 by 4 p.m. on Sunday. And then obviously another huge, huge game as well tomorrow that is getting the attention for the wrong reasons in terms of Waterford point of view. That massive playoff between themselves and UCD. And as you know from covering that cup game between the sides just over 2 months ago, there's unfinished business between them two.
Yeah, definitely. UCD missed a penalty at 2-2 in that game, and they could have gone 3-2 ahead. Probably would have gone to a replay then if Watford still got their late equaliser. There was nothing in it between the two sides. They were both going at each other. We know how good UCD are going forward. Colin Whelan's nominated for First Division Player of the Year, as well as Liam Kerrigan, and he's nominated for Young Player of the Year in the League of Ireland as well. Talented players at that club. Waterford, it's going to be very tough for them now without the manager. It's just a mad situation. It's not something you need on the biggest week of the season for you.
Oh.
And regardless of what happened, I think it could have been dealt with better by both parties if you look at it in some sense. Like, we don't know fully what's gone on, but surely the priority should have been the game. And look, we don't know. We only hear rumours. We still don't know what fully went down. So, yeah, unfortunate. I think UCD will probably win it now because of that situation. But yeah, madness. And in terms of the cup final, anyway, I'm going myself. Looking forward to it. Great to see the ticket sales going like that. And I don't really care who wins. Someone has to win. I don't really care who wins.
Come on.
Yeah. No,
Okay,
I'm
come on.
not saying it.
You're less than a mile away from Bowes. Surely to God, you'd be like, I don't want to see our
I
neighbouring
would
stadium.
rather Bows didn't win, but I still don't really mind. Best team wins.
Yeah, fair enough. Obviously, I don't think I need to say what way my allegiance is like for Sunday. In terms of tomorrow night, just quickly, I still think Waterford will have enough quality to get themselves over the line and get the job done. I agree with you. I think the situation, it's a club that never fails to surprise you, but like this is the biggest game. I know they were in a cup semi-final a few weeks ago, but forget that. This is the biggest game that club has probably faced in years because relegation to the first division would just be a disaster. For a club that's in a city by themselves, in a county by themselves, with not a lot of neighbouring counties with teams either, and with the way that Waterford City in general, in terms of its economy and the way that's kind of progressing and stuff like that, there's a massive opportunity with Waterford to be, much bigger and serious potential there. They've got a nice enough stadium, and to really utilise that, they need to be in the Premier Division, need to be consistently there. So I think it's vital that they win that game, and I think they will just get over the line. Although the form book would probably suggest UCD because they've come through the playoff games. Where you look at Waterford, I can't remember the last time they won a game in the league. I think it was when they bet Finn Harps, and that was the middle of October. Like they had a couple of winnable games, particularly recently against Longford, didn't win that, so they are a little bit shaky. But I think they'll have their quality to get them over the line. But anyway, I think that's pretty much it done for today. As Paul, as always, it was a pleasure. We'll be back again next week. I'm not sure what the situation is with the EFL next week, but I do know there's Premier League midweek games next week, so we are once again in store for a busy show.
Yeah, definitely a few good fixtures next week as well. So hopefully the Irish lads get a bit more involvement as well, because we know managers in the Premier League don't like a couple of games in a few days, generally
No.
give out about it. So surely there'll be more involvement for our Irish lads in the Premier League next week.
Fingers crossed. Thank you for everyone out there for watching, and keep tuning to the channel as always.
Good luck.